you see the images of how badly Gaza is being pounded at the moment. Of course, distraught innocent civilians who are completely caught in the middle of this crossfire between Israel and Hamas. You see southern Gaza, you see northern Gaza. This is where Israel is moving in from. Remember, it had asked Gazans to, in fact, evacuate from the northern part to the southern part, because this is where Israel is going in from. Large groups of armored vehicles are moving in, tanks are moving in at the moment as far as that ground invasion is concerned, while, of course, the airstrikes continue as well. You see invasion by Israeli troops that are trying to inch closer and closer to Gaza City as well. Lines of armored vehicles that were in fact lining up at the border since October 7, the first attack by Hamas on Israeli soil. And since then, Israel, of course, started amassing its troops at the border with Gaza. So they've been moving in, narrowing in as far as Gaza City is concerned. Now, Shiv, my colleague, of course, has been filing several reports from the ground. Shiv, I believe you've filed more reports on the ground as well, in terms of the latest update on how Israel is, of course, making its inroads into Gaza in order to decimate Hamas.
You know, the big, Polami, thanks. The big focus right now, I can tell you, is the airstrike that's taken place on the Jabalia refugee camp. That's become the big focal point, and justifiably so, because there appear to be, large numbers of casualties. This is also possibly a nodal point of the tunnel network operated by the Hamas that has possibly caved in. And this has become also a vindication of sorts for the Israeli Defense Forces, who've talked about how the Hamas has been building its terror network tunnel, subterranean tunnel network under residential areas, in this case in a refugee camp for Palestinian civilians. So, what caused the caving in? How did it actually happen? What is the real death figure? All of those are, hopefully going to be independently verified very soon. But the pictures obviously do not lie. This has been a big airstrike, and there's no wonder that people are talking about it. I was at the Gaza Strip, the border of the Gaza Strip, late last evening, right around the time that the Jabalia strike was taking place. Here's what I saw. It's day 4 of the scaled-up Israeli Defense Forces ground operation in Gaza. We're here on the frontier with the Gaza fence, and the destruction in northern Gaza is fully visible. Since we arrived here a few minutes ago, there have already been at least 2 airstrikes. You can see the big plumes of smoke behind me from those particular airstrikes. The targets there are being struck even as we speak. If you look into the distance, you can see the effects of continued airstrikes. There are still aircraft buzzing above us, which suggests that the intensity of the first 3 days has not de-escalated just yet. But at the same time, what we've heard from the Israeli Defense Forces, we've been speaking to them today and early this morning as well, is that the ground operation still hasn't achieved the kind of intensity perhaps that most people were expecting. And there are 2 reasons for it. One, the Israeli Defense Forces is keenly aware that there is a live hostage situation that is playing out, especially possibly in northern Gaza. And therefore, they have to take all precautions. It can't be a blitzkrieg operation of the kind that happened in 2009 and 2014. At the same time, the IDF is also keenly aware that there is no appetite for more casualties. Many of the people who died on October the 7th were soldiers and members of the military fraternity, and therefore the IDF wants to make sure that this is a minimum casualty operation as far as this ground operation is concerned. The other important aspect is that this very slow inch by inch, meter by meter kind of ground operation that is taking place with the aid of airstrikes shows a kind of collaboration between the special forces on the ground of Israel and the Air Force, which is continuing to pound this area. One had imagined that maybe with the ground operations scaling up just a little bit, maybe the airstrikes would go down, but we've seen incessant airstrikes taking place. 3 since we arrived, 1 while I've been bringing you this broadcast. It's in the distance, probably somewhere near Gaza City, but it's continuing. It's become pretty clear that this ground operation in Gaza is going to be a long and hard one, like the defense minister of Israel had said a couple of days ago. But that is not necessarily good news. The reason, however, why it's taking place in this manner is because the Israeli defense forces probably want to try and wear out the Hamas, wear them down, wear down their, their ability to preempt and intercept Israeli forces, and then be able to sort of drive them out so they can be killed in large numbers, and possibly, if any, any of the leaders are remaining, then to actually kind of, force them into some kind of a hostage exchange deal or a hostage release deal. These are very, very difficult situations because it's a shape-shifting circumstance inside Gaza behind me, and therefore nothing is predictable at this point of time. What there appears to be a great deal of unanimity about is that with each passing day, each passing hour, even with Hamas leaders, like a senior combatant and a senior leader being taken out in an airstrike late last night, someone who was in charge of the aviation wing and someone who was in charge of the drone operations, it has become clear that the Hamas will be ever better prepared, because even with the internet lockdown, with the internet and communications no longer operating inside the Gaza Strip, the Hamas is still capable of being in touch with its mentors in Iran, and therefore that means being able to recuperate, rearm, etc. How long this is going to go on for, one doesn't know. It's day 4 here, and the intensity continues to remain the same. This is Shiv Arur in Sderot, southern Israel, on the Gaza border for India Today.